on the podcast. We did cover him much earlier in the 60s. A short album, Live at the Apollo. This one is another one that has a lot of live performances in it. However, it goes over an hour. It is Sex Machine by James Brown. And I'm going to go ahead and set the 15 minutes before, however, I hit start. Matt, do you want to give us the numbers?
Yeah, so on Best Ever Albums, this came in at 865 in the 70s. So, yeah. But 439 in Rolling Stone, so a little bit higher there. And it's actually, on Best Ever Albums, it's his 5th highest rated album. So Live at the Apollo is number 1, and then there's 3 in between that one and Sex Machine. So
probably like Say It Loud, Say It Proud. I'm Black and I'm Proud. I know that one's well regarded.
Nope. Got number 2 is In the Jungle Groove. Number 3 is The Payback. And number 4 is Please, Please, Please. Interesting that, because I don't think we're covering any more James Brown in Rolling Stone or Best Ever Albums. So it's interesting that we're getting 1 in 5. So anyway.
All right. Well, we haven't had Matt start. I think the rotation this time will be Matt,
Josh.
myself, or Josh, excuse me. We haven't had Josh start. So it'll be Josh, myself, and then Matt, I think, is the go around this time. So the clock has started. Josh, thoughts on James Brown, Sex Machine?
One quick addendum. Can you tell us what the song in the montage was? You there? John?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I'd gone to the side. I will have to look it up. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, well,
so if you start going, yep. Mm-hmm.
So this was a much better live album experience for me overall than when we listened to Live at the Apollo. If I remember right, we were kind of lukewarm on it being a live album, and we had some discussion about live albums in general, I think. This really seems, more so than Live at the Apollo, it seems to capture his kind of live show feeling better. However, so you get to hear, his interactions with the crowd a lot. You get to... you can clearly hear like how well of a good performer he is, and the band is so talented and has, they're really tight, obviously, because James Brown was a taskmaster in terms of making them practice and everything like that. But you can tell that they know their beats really well. They interact with James Brown really well, and you can almost picture in your head him dancing on stage in this album. However, one of the knocks I have about this album is that the way it's structured, and specifically how the songs just end and it's like entirely different live song comes in the next track. It just cuts off abruptly. There's no like follow through or talking with the crowd that could be interspersed in between. But it just plays the song. So it kind of disrupts the live experience for me a little bit. And now granted, most of the album is not live. I think it's half and half maybe, or a little more, but I found that a little distracting how, people would cheer and then it would just like cut off, and then the next song would be something completely different. So it's not like a live set per se. It's just different live numbers from the same show, or maybe multiple shows over a course of a few nights. The other thing that really stood out was he's got this high shriek that is really comes and goes in the song, and is more so than his yell. I don't know how he gets that high, but it's crazy. And it was a fun album. I don't know if a double album was necessary. Maybe, they're kind of two different experiences if you take them at 2 albums, but he's a great performer. You can tell he's talented, and another good ride, although not as enthusiastic on this album as I was about Harry Nilsson.
Gotcha. And I picked Spinning Wheel, and the reason I couldn't remember is I was down to the wire whether I was going to do Spinning Wheel or Low Down Popcorn, which was the other song that I almost put in there. I like this album quite a bit. I think it's a better representation of the live experience that I think of as James Brown than Live at the Apollo was. Mm-hmm. The thing with James Brown that's interesting is it's almost like he's not like a lyrics guy or anything. He almost sings in onomatopoeias. You know what I mean? It's like that shriek that Josh mentioned, along with like and like good God, like and like you almost don't even know what because there's so much repetition of just basic phrases and stuff that it's almost like you could just like have a sound machine that made like just sounds.
It's Eddie Murphy and Saturday Night Live doing Hot Tub.
Yes, pretty much. It's exactly right. And so as a result, like he's got so much charisma, it like totally works, but it's almost like you have to see James Brown because you have to see the whole thing to just hear the sounds, or like I said, the onomatopoeias.
Or when he names like 50 different cities in the
like New Orleans, like. But I always think of that for like Living in America, right? The one that's in Iraqi, like Detroit City. But the bands he puts behind him, like I know he was a taskmaster, and I'm sure he's horrible to work for and stuff. But whatever he was doing as a coach, he's a hell of a musician because the bass is fantastic. The like trumpets and the saxophones. He's always got guitar guys that could play. I think I'd be curious to see, but I'm pretty sure this is the album where he has the two Collinses on it.
Yeah, Bootsy Collins is on here.
Yeah, Bootsy, and I forget what Bootsy's brother's name is, but
Catfish,
it's another.
I
There
think.
you go, Catfish. Okay, so they are on this. I know they were in his band. You know what I mean? And I know this is like his peak period where they were in the band before they dovetailed into like Parliament Funkadelic and stuff like that. And he's got all the drummers. Like there's like, I think if I remember when I did the bio for James Brown before, like sometimes he'd have as many as like 4 or 5 drummers on the stage with him, and you could definitely hear it because he's got like guys playing the drums. There's congas and stuff in it. It's all kinds of different stuff. I don't even know how many brass instruments on it because I feel like I hear all of them. So you could tell me literally every brass instrument was in it, I'd believe it. But yeah, the band is the highlight right here. And that alone is worth a decent thumbs up for me, like listening to the band. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It's not James Brown is not going to transcend the genre to me like someone whose singing voice adds more to it does. I think that's the only negative I have for it. It's kind of a live album like that Big Brother and the Holding Company album was, which is funny because we're going to be talking about Janis Joplin soon. But it's like, it feels like I think if I remember correctly, is this the one where it's like somewhat live and somewhat not? And I think it's a mix if I remember correctly. And I'll have to look into that. But I'm pretty sure like some of the tracks on this are live and some of them are like meant to seem live, but not totally live. Yeah, and kind of like how the Big Brother and the Holding Company album was. And
it said in Rolling Stone how the first track is actually not a live song, but they put crowd noise to it to make it seem like it was a live song. And on Spotify, it'll indicate like apparently a lot of these were from a night in Georgia, but not all of the tracks are listed as being a live track. So Spotify makes it seem like it's like Josh said, like kind of a half and half type thing.
Well, I remember doing a deep dive on James Brown way back when, and that was like a feature of some of his live albums. And, it's a feature of live albums in the 70s in general. There's a lot of live albums, right, that are helped by studio stuff. But, and then I saw on Spotify that they had live designations and non-live designations. So I think that was where I was like, maybe, that's the thing. But yeah, I enjoyed this album. I would give it, a relatively enthusiastic thumbs up. Maybe not the level of the first 2 albums tonight, but definitely enjoyed it. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, I like this too. I did like it better than the Apollo album. I think that there was much more substance here. I think the production was better. It was a crisper sound. The crowd noise when it was there did not I felt like with Live at the Apollo, the crowd noise was almost too much. But I think I like the songs that were more upbeat, funkier, faster paced, rather than the ballads and the instrumentals. And I think I'm glad he didn't. I was a little worried because I think it's on. It's one of the earlier tracks. Maybe it's Bewildered, where there's so much. He does a lot of that call and response type thing. Yeah. It's almost like the banter, and I don't mind a little bit of that, but sometimes James Brown does go over the top, and I get it, right? If you're at the live show, maybe that's better. Yeah. But like just listening to the repetition or whatever, and just like I'm like, all right, just get to the music, like put the groove down and get back to it, Yeah. So, but
he's got to get the code on. That
yeah, he does, and I would definitely agree. This would be phenomenal to see live. Like you're right. This record is only doing it so much justice. I did think it was funny. Having said all that, I did have to laugh when he kept going. Should I get to the bridge? let's get to the bridge. And it took him 5 minutes to get to the bridge, right? He spends 5 minutes talking about getting to the bridge, and he finally
milked that out.
Yeah, I was just, and all the guys were like, yeah, and like, let's do it, but not yet. That's like, it's a Saturday Night Live sketch, like in and of itself.
Well, that's what Eddie Murphy was making fun of with the hot tub. Yeah.
Well, and that also reminded me. It also reminded me of, there was a scene in Another 48 Hours where he's singing "I Got the Feeling." He's got the Walkman on. He's like, "Baby, baby, baby." I always think of Eddie Murphy doing that because he was singing.
Wasn't there a scene in the Cosby Show that had that too, Matt? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how I remember that. Not that I was some Cosby Show devotee, but yeah.
But yeah, I would echo as well. His voice is crazy. You really, like, how he's screaming those high notes is otherworldly. Like, I don't know if I've ever heard him scream just like that. Some of the places that he does here, and it's nuts. He's a crazy man, and the fact that, like, how he would continue to have the energy to continue on with the show after, you know, because you can just, I'm exhausted listening to this record, just sitting there listening to it. It's a bit long for me. This is a record that's a little harder to just put on and listen to, because again, it's more about the live experience, I think most of the time the songs don't go too long, but even with like Sex Machine, or Get Up, I feel like being a Sex Machine is the name of the song, like the opening track. I think that's got a really great groove that it's got going on, but there's that part, middle part, end part of the song, and they just lay into that over and over again, and it doesn't really deviate. He doesn't really do much with his voice, and it's like, and even with a great groove like that, it's only going to hold my attention for so long before I'm like, all right, just do something a little different, So the minor complaints, I would say overall, it's a big improvement over Live at the Apollo for me. But again, I don't know how often I would go back to this. He's a live performer. This does showcase part of that. I think that it would be just insane to see him live. But overall, thumbs up. It's interesting. It's fun. It's catchy. Even the slower songs that I wasn't that much as into, or the instrumentals as I was. I mean, the band's got to take a break, which is totally understandable, and they're good, right? They're fine. But he shines, and James Brown is to me is much better when he's giving it up or turning it loose. So yeah.
Well,
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Josh.
I was gonna say one other thing that came to mind while you guys were talking. Was that there are some instrumental tracks on this, album highlighting the band and how I'm sure James Brown is taking a break or something, but maybe not. But it's a testament to their talent that they are getting tracks on this album as well.
Well, and that's what John picked. John picked that for the montage, which I was kind of interested in, that you did you chose the instrumental for that.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to showcase that because I think everybody knows what James Brown sounds like, so I don't mean to take it away from him, but it's very indicative of the sound of this album. But yeah, that spinning wheel stood out. Get Up, I feel like being a Sex Machine is obviously a classic song. Both of the Popcorns, Lowdown and Mother, I liked quite a bit.
That made me laugh too. And he was like, I got a song to play. It's called Lowdown Popcorn.
I'm pretty sure when you listen to the lyrics of that, I'm pretty sure he's talking about an ass, by the way. I think it's like what he's talking about in Mother Popcorn. I don't know about both, but like Mother Popcorn, I'm pretty sure is about an ass. Okay. Yeah.
Well, Lowdown Popcorn was an instrumental, so But I was laughing at the way he said it. Lowdown Popcorn.
Yeah. And it's a man's world is also obviously a song that a lot of listeners will know as well. So, which is actually kind of, interestingly enough, almost like a feminist song when you listen to the lyrics of that, which is kind of funny because he does go. He does really have that complex, doesn't he? Of like, women are either like, what is it, the
Madonna,
virgin or whore? Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, Madonna or whore, exactly. And it's like that's like his female characters. It's either like I want to have sex with you, or you need to like be protected and respected. And there's like no in between, kind of. But James Brown did write some very good like social issues type songs, when he actually did write lyrics and stuff. And I know I said before that his lyrics are kind of more just him making like guttural sounds and different sounds. But I always think of like more like, like that type sounds and, that type stuff. But he is a charismatic performer, and having seen him live so many times, I mean, his stage act basically set the tone for every stage act for the next 45 years, I mean, he really is the OG of the stage performance as we know it. Yeah, the big show. So
I should find the that Eddie Murphy hot tub clip and put that on Twitter. That's a classic.
Yeah. So for those that may not be aware, I mean, I think anybody over the age of 35 probably knows that at some point or another. But
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, he was only on for 1 year, right? Or something?
No, he was on for four years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was on that first the first season after the original cast left, which is the book they wrote about. It was epic. They wrote about that season. But anyway, that's for another conversation. But sounds like 3 thumbs up there. Maybe not all the way thumbs up like the other albums, but you know, pretty strong along the board. So we're 3 for 3, guys.
Yeah.